It's the Infectious Groove Podcast, part of the Odd Pods Media Network. Recorded from Detroit, Michigan, and Jacksonville, Florida. The Infectious Groove Podcast is your source for jammy jams, album reviews, and the best in-depth music discussion. Thanks for joining us. Now here are your hosts.
Hey, my name is Russ, and we are getting into a brand new episode of the Infectious Groove Podcast. Along for the ride this week with me is Kyle. It's a Kyle week. Kyle, hello and welcome back to the Infectious Groove Podcast. Yeah. You know what's funny? You know when you certain people say a certain thing a lot, like you say yeehaw enough to where whenever you text it to me or you put it in a group chat, I hear it exactly like you said. So, along with us this week, as promised a few weeks ago when we brought you the updates to the episodes, what we're going to be doing for episodes going forward is we are finally going to open the floodgates and bring you a whole bunch of wildly talented podcast hosts to come on our show with us. And to be honest with you, some of them we've matched up better with other with topics than others. And I feel like this week's topic is dead on for the person that is coming on with us to discuss things. We have with us this week John from the Beard Owl podcast. John, welcome to the Infectious Groove Podcast.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Hey, we are excited to have you. Now, I am slightly familiar with your show. I've heard it before. But
that's good.
Yeah, I've heard of the show. I guess you have. Is there a co-host on your show too?
There is a co-host, my sister Lauren. Yep.
Oh,
I don't know if you've ever met her.
But I don't. Kyle, do you know a Lauren from the Beard Owl podcast? Does that ring a bell?
I'm trying to think. I don't know.
Okay. Well, nevertheless, John, sorry to make things awkward. If you would please tell us what you and was it Lauren? You said Lauren?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Lauren.
Lauren. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you and Lauren do on the on the Beard Owl podcast?
Well, we don't do. This is the first thing I've ever done on the Infectious Groove Podcast.
It is.
So I can't really say I do much. But on the Beard Owl podcast, we talk about two of the best things in the world: beer and Weird Al Yankovic. And so what we try to do is we pair up every Weird Al Yankovic song with a different beer every time. Sometimes the beer pairings are very on the nose as far as name goes. Sometimes it's really a stretch as far as, how we paired things up. But, it has really opened my eyes to a lot of beers that I probably wouldn't have normally tried.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I feel like, do you feel like your friends and family benefit from it too? Where you're like, here's a beer I never would have tried before.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, here's a little bit of behind the scenes on the Beard Owl podcast. Mm-hmm. I have probably about maybe a quarter of my beer fridge in my garage. About a quarter of it is pairings that I have for future episodes.
That's right.
And so you buy them in 4 packs. So I'll put one in the quadrant and then I'll put the other 3 elsewhere. And so my dad will come up or he'll help me with whatever. And I'll just be like, here, take some home.
There you go.
So, yeah. So
Kyle,
it's to
give you an idea how this would work on our show. You might bring a beer to the show and I'd be like, oh, I thought you didn't like that. And you'd be like, yeah, this beer pairs with Machine Gun Kelly. I didn't think it was that good till recently.
Oh, there you go. Okay. But since we do talk about beer and Weird Al, here is the first half of that.
Oh,
I'll crack my beer.
That's one of the best sounds in the world. What are you drinking tonight?
Absolutely. This is an offering from Susquehanna Brewing Company, which is maybe about 20 minutes from my front door. It's called Shady Spot. It's just their lemon shandy.
Right on.
Yeah.
Lemon shandy is a fantastic summer drinking beer. Period.
Yeah, I love it. It's very light, very drinkable. Don't really need to think about it or pay attention to it as you're really trying to bring in conversation. It's just I could just sip it and
I hear that.
I'm not gonna be take a sip of it and then be off put and lose my train of thought. It's just gonna be take a sip, keep going.
Oh, if you're not going to lose your train of thought, I don't know if you're going to fit in here, but we'll do the best we can.
Oh, you said you've listened to the podcast. I lose the train of thought all the time.
Right. Yeah. No, and we as well are known for that on our show. Kyle, if I know you like I think I do, I'm pretty sure you're sipping on Starbucks, as a matter of fact, and not any sort of...
I am.
There it is.
Wow, there you go.
Espresso.
I forgot to mention, we can be found anywhere you can find your podcasts, whether that's Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We're part of the Odd Pods Media, as you guys know.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we even have our own website, www.beardowlpodcast.com.
Yes, sir.
So
yeah, and if you go to really anytime you're looking to support any podcast, whatever you happen to listen to us on, you can go and search and look for Beard Al and subscribe to their show, because when we get into the second half of the episode today, the main topic of discussion is going to be Weird Al, but I feel like we're going to do kind of a different discussion on Weird Al than usual. We are not going, this is not going to be an episode where we talk about how funny White Nerdy or Amish Paradise are. We're going to get into a little bit more about the artist, who he is, what he means to us, and where we think his place is in music. However, if you are a Weird Al fan, or you become one through this episode, and you are looking for more in-depth discussion about the comedy of Weird Al and the genius of individual songs, then that is why you're going to go to Beard Al Podcast. Or if you just like beer and you want to hear people talk about beer, that works.
yeah, we also talk about a lot of things that aren't beer or Weird Al. So
That's very true. All right. I am going to take us to our first segment of this show and get into some feedback we've received recently. Here we go.
Feedback, Joe.
Don't worry about that. Right. There's rock and roll be without feedback.
We are still getting some feedback on the updates and people catching up and just now realizing like the direction the show is going to go and how Michelle and Kyle are going to play round robin. Or I feel like, Kyle, it was wishful thinking, but last week Michelle mentioned that she is hoping that there will still be points where both of you can be on the show. And I feel like that's wishful thinking right now, but you never know, right?
It is possible. That might the stars may align at some point, and that might work. Right
on. So along those lines, Nick Fowler writes us and says, I appreciate the update from you guys. Thank you for continuing to put out the best music podcast around. And Nick says, wait a minute, does this mean I can finally come on and talk about Pink Floyd? Because that would be a week when Michelle isn't here, which all Pink Floyd discussion is welcome, in my opinion. Our friend Mohammed Riza from Iran writes in and says, first of all, thank you for reading my comments all the time. Second of all, I personally listen to your show no matter what. If it's in full mode with all three of you, great. If it's just two out of the three of you, or even if it was just you alone, I would love the podcast. Life happens. Don't worry about it. You have to adjust to things all the time. I love the show and I love all three of you. On a side note, you guys always end the show and say, without music, life would be a mistake. And I have to agree. Today is a weekend where I'm at. And what I always do on weekends is put on my headphones and go out and listen to music for at least 6 hours straight. It's the best day of the weekend for me. And just because I listen to so many artists and because of your podcast today, I listened to Heartbeat City from the Cars. So thanks for suggesting that. Have a great day and good luck. So I know, Kyle, we almost every time we read feedback from Mohammed Riza, we're both kind of like, wow, a person in Iran like really loves what we do, but that's awesome.
Yeah, to me, that's still mind-blowing.
Kyle, this will come as news to you, but Dave writes in to us from Chicago and says, Michelle heals the world. It sounds like a new tagline for the show. And just so you know, last week, Michelle proclaimed that she is healing the world.
Huh.
Yeah, I concur. Last week, we did the totally epic cover battle of Lady Marmalade, the original LaBelle version versus the cover from the Moulin Rouge soundtrack. Queer Defense Force Squad writes in and says, cover is absolutely my favorite. For those of us who are not old, rap is great. Missy Elliott is insanely talented. I still love the original song. Plus the music video, but the cover is just more iconic to me. Not all of us can remember when Patti LaBelle was around, Russ. Garrett writes in and says, great show. I love the discussion about this cover, and ultimately my conclusion is that both of the versions hold up. More feedback on last week's episode. D Tension writes in and says, thanks to the Infectious Groove podcast, I had to stop the podcast mid-show and listen to Oasis and their arguably best B-side, Talk Tonight, which last week in my Jammy Jams was some Oasis. And without redoing the whole segment, I love everything Oasis did on the first two records at a minimum. The singles everyone knows, like Wonderwall and Live Forever and everything. But they had a string of B-sides on those first two records that are as good or better than what ended up on the records. So it was cool to me that I wasn't just kind of throwing that out there and having people being like, yeah, I just know Wonderwall. You know, like it's cool that, you know what I mean? It's cool to me that somebody knew Talk Tonight, which is such a brilliant and wonderful Oasis ballad. So that is the feedback from last week. As we always say at this time, you can leave us feedback pretty much anywhere on the internet. You can go to infectiousgroupodcast.com. You can go to our Facebook page, our YouTube page, any number of videos we put up. You can leave comments there on our Twitter at infectious_pod. Instagram, smoke signal, call Kyle's personal cell phone, really anytime, anyway, you want to leave us feedback, go ahead and do that. Now we are up to the most exciting segment in all of podcasting. Our Jammy Jams. And since we've never had guests before, I don't really know how to do this. So I'm going to go with John first. John,
I'll let you guys go first, and I'll.
John would
at
like
least
to,
one of you guys go first.
John would like
one
to
of you guys
get
go
his
first.
Get his feet wet with the Jammy Jams first. Kyle, let's go over to you then. What are your Jammy Jams? Mine couldn't be more different than each other, and they're both probably going to get laughed at. So go ahead, Kyle.
Mine are actually very different from one another as well. You may or may not have seen a gentleman on TikTok or Instagram named Luya. It's Louyah.
Okay. Doesn't ring a bell, but go on.
So he's like, he's a singer-songwriter, but he's also like a master, like social media. He like works the algorithm, and like he did this whole thing where he hyped up this song that he did, but he made it seem like he put a Post Malone song and a Justin Bieber song into the computer and let the robot, like AI, like write the lyrics for it. And then it popped out with like this really catchy, like crazy, like the song. Well, it turns out that he made that song, not a computer. So he ran this whole like this. He's all over like TikTok and Instagram Reels and all that kind of shit. But I started to get hooked on some of the music because I'm like, man, like this dude's like talented. Like, why is he not more famous than what he is? And he has an album. It's called 6 Feet, and it's the number 6 and then feet afterwards.
Right.
And it's just, he is insanely talented, and like nobody would know of him if it wasn't for the internet. Yeah,
it's that's what you and I talked about a couple of weeks ago, right? Yeah, and if you took Post Malone and I guess you could say Justin Bieber, if you took them together and they had a baby, it's literally, that's like what the kind of music that it is. Right on. It's just it's like pop rap, singing, songwriting, like I don't know. Yeah. It's very catchy. Well, with those two artists, it's no wonder the algorithm picked it up. You know what I mean? He's very good at what, and like, so one of the latest videos I've seen of his is he's trying to say that if he gets enough likes on one of his videos for this one song, that Post Malone's going to sign him to his like label or whatever. So whether that's true or not, I have no idea, but he's just trying to gather like, you know, the masses to try and like get more attention. Even if it's not, I'm okay with him willing it into existence. Yeah. And so beyond that, there is I think it's 2 people, a male and a female, Wilder Woods, and it's like a folky singer-songwriter, that style of music. This rings a bell. But so Michelle had sent me one of their songs, like a link to one of them, and I was like, huh. And I clicked on it, and I was like, damn, that's a jam. So I went and checked out all the other stuff that they have, and god damn, it is very, very good, like fantastic. So when you mentioned Wilder Woods, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I heard them through Michelle, and then I didn't want you to be like, no, they just came out last week. So like, nope. So get this, I told her the other day, I was like, man, Wilder Woods is so good. Like I'm glad that I found out about them. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, you sent me a song about them, and I clicked on them, listened to it, and then now I'm hooked. She's like, I don't know who that even is. Right. And I'm like, except for you do. So I went back in my conversation with her, screenshotted it, and was like, look, you sent me this damn link. I learned this from you. If I know Michelle the way I think I do, did you receive something back that said tomato, tomato, or something similar? I think it said, nope. Yeah. That also, a full denial is also very Michelle. Yes. Okay, so those 2 artists, completely different and for different reasons, but those were your Jamie Jams this week? Yeah, and Wilder Woods, they have their album is self-titled, and they also have this. It's called the Work Tapes, where it's like 4 singles that have come out, and it's like they're on like a little EP. They're like grouped together, or whatever, on Spotify. Right on. But it's like 4 songs, and then in parentheses after the songs it says Work Tape. So I'm not really sure like if it's going to be an EP or they're going to put something out soon or whatever. But all of it is fantastic. Right on. For me, for my Jammy Jams, I guess the linking thing between these 2 artists is, it's kind of the theme of the show that we try hard to never be dismissive or negative about artists. And these 2 particular artists, I think, get laughed at on different levels and for different reasons. And so both of these artists for me fall under my personal motto is there's a time and a place for everything. Like I really, really don't care what artist it is or what genre it is. There's a time and a place for everything. And so having given myself all those excuses, I will say that the first thing that I was listening to this week is Rick Astley, but not Never Gonna Give You Up, Rick Astley had another hit that was not quite as big, but it's called Together Forever.
Together Forever, right?
Yes. Yeah. And
I love that one so much more.
I know. Me too. That's what I said.
Yeah.
I think it's as good or better than Never Gonna Give You Up. And it gets like zero love. Like when it came out, it got played a good amount.
Right.
Yeah.
If you really listen to both of the songs like back to back, I mean, they're on the same album, so like it's not hard to do that.
Right.
They're like the same song.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know, but like Together Forever is just like, I don't know. It has a different feel about it. Maybe because it's not a meme.
Yeah, that very well could be it too. Could be Absence Makes the Heart Grow Fonder. Like years later, I'm like, Together Forever though. And then the other one is, and Kyle, you've heard me defend this genre on the show quite often, and this band I defend quite often, but I got on a really big Poison kick this week. And there's Every Rose Has Its Thorn and Nothing But a Good Time and Talk Dirty to Me. But there's a lot more to Poison than most people do now, than most people know. And I want to make clear that Poison is as deep as a puddle as far as lyric goes. Like I think it's a badge of honor, but Poison never did what every other band of that genre did. They never put out their quote alternative album. They never tried to look hard. They never tried to get deep. Like Poison's Poison. They were singing about the same things in 1987 that they were in 1997 and 2007. Like every time they put out an album these days, it's the same subject matter as it was before, like wine, women, and song. But again, it falls under, there's a time and a place for everything. Like sometimes I'd like to have Nothing But a Good Time, you know, and they do have a couple of songs that are deeper too, like Something to Believe In. I think the lyrics of that are far deeper than most people even would think that there are, you know, probably on account of Every Rose Has Its Thorn. They're like, oh, these guys aren't serious, you know. But Poison has a lot of great songs, and I've just been going through a lot of it this week, kind of just reappreciating like, man, what a great band they really are. And people just don't give them the respect they deserve, in my opinion. So,
you know why I think that is? Not only because they were labeled as a hair band, but also because Bret Michaels has become a fucking joke.
Yeah,
so,
as far as like showing up on every reality show ever.
Yeah, just the reality shows.
Yeah, I remember
like
in the 90s or early thousands, maybe it was that, what was it, Rock of Love show that was on VH1?
Yeah.
It was like his dating show. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just like the weird thing with like whatever his hair is, a wig or with the bandana and like the whole thing where it just like people just laugh at him now instead of taking the band seriously.
I get that, and don't get me wrong, I'm not getting out of soapbox asking people to take Poison seriously. I'm just saying that I think that in their defense, I don't think Poison wants you to take them seriously either. You know, it's like the one band I historically have bad things to say about on this show is Creed. And my problem with Creed is Creed wants you to take them seriously, and I can't.
Only Scott Stapp.
No, I agree.
Only Scott Stapp.
The other three members of Creed are wildly talented.
No.
Yeah. But
that's like, Creed is squarely butt rock.
Yeah.
And I used to, maybe it's one of those tropes, but it's like I used to make fun of butt rock, and then the more I made fun of butt rock and like accidentally listened to butt rock, the more I like butt rock.
Solid.
Like unironic, you know?
Which brings us to your Jammy
I'll
Jams.
listen to Hero by Chad Kroeger.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Well, that brings us to your Jammy Jams, John, and I have to assume it's what, All Shine Down then, or?
Yeah, absolutely. No. Let me just make a comment on one of Kyle's. So your first thing was like a Post Malone, Justin Bieber mashup thing. Mm-hmm. I'll point you in the direction of somebody else. I only know them on YouTube, but they're known as DJ Cummerbun, and he mashes up two artists or songs that like you would not even think of. So here's two examples of that. There's one that's called Man in a Bottle, where he mashes up Genie in a Bottle by Christina Aguilera and Man in a Box by Alice in Chains, and completely changes Man in a Box to like this weird minor pop song.
Solid.
It's crazy. Absolutely nuts, but it like totally works. It's been stuck in my head for weeks at a time. And there was another one, it's called Shack Zicula, where it's a mix of Love Shack, Toxic by Britney Spears, and Dragula by Rob Zombie. So like, go find DJ Cummerbund on YouTube. Yeah, go find those. Those are solid.
Well, now, 2 weeks from now, Kyle's going to come back and be like, okay, so my jammy jams are DJ
Cummerbund. Yeah.
All right, John, what do you got for us?
My real jammy jams is, so a couple weeks ago on your YouTube, you talked about one-off albums.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about Mad Season, which kind of put me in like another Alice in Chains mode, which then got me thinking about Jerry Cantrell's last solo album.
Yes, sir.
So that's been on my jammy jam. That's been in my rotation here the last week. That's called Brighton. Is the name of the album, but the release off of that is called Atone, and it sounds like it's almost like a black country.
Okay,
like a country mixed with grunge, kind of. It's really interesting.
Yeah, his first two solo records leaned way towards Chains, but there were tones of a darker country sound on there.
Well, yeah, Boggy Depot was way more Chains, I feel, than
Degradation Trip.
Yeah. But I think with Degradation Trip, he was very much reeling from the death of Lane.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you know, that like, absolutely, you know, I love... That being said, I like Boggy Depot way more than Degradation Trip.
Right. No, I hear that.
But not to say Degradation Trip is bad. I like Brighton better than Degradation Trip.
Oh, right on. Cool.
So just put that, because I might be a little backwards, but maybe it's because these are the albums that have come out while I've been like a really big fan. I almost like the newer Alice in Chains stuff better than the 90s.
I've heard that argument as well.
Like, at least the last two albums, their first comeback album, Black Gives Way to Blue, they were trying some stuff, didn't necessarily work, but it proved the concept.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, so Jerry Cantrell's latest solo stuff. What else do you got?
And my second one, I'm going to see Franz Ferdinand in August.
Yes.
So I've kind of been digging into their stuff a little bit more than I have in the past. And so they're touring their album called Hits to the Head, which is basically just a greatest hits album. But they put two new songs on there. But the song that I'll actually point out is because as I've been digging in, I guess I found a deeper meaning to one of the songs that's on Hits to the Head. And maybe it's just because I've listened to it with a little more intent. But the song is called The Dark of the Matinee, which was on their self-titled debut in 2004. And so like you listen to it and on the surface is like you feel like it's just about like some kind of love affair. But as you look at it closer, it's more like the narrator and the person he's like pining after, they both go to like the same school. They go and ditch school to go to a matinee. And he's talking about, here's the lyric that kind of put me on this. He says, I charm you and tell you of the boys I hate, all the girls I hate, all the words I hate, all the clothes I hate, how I'll never be anything I hate. You smile, mention something that you like, how you'd have a happy life if you did the things you like. She's just saying, stop being so negative.
Right.
Look at the positives of things, you know? And it's just, it really, really put that song in a different light once you realize it's like, you know, these two are really just like, not necessarily in a relationship. They're just kind of like goofing off from school and,
and we've talked about that to a great extent on the show too, when songs mean one thing to you when you first hear them. Not that you necessarily took it wrong the first time, it just meant one thing to you.
Right.
And then it reinvents itself, down the line.
So that song came out in 2004. I was, I was 16. Like,
right.
It means one thing, and then like I look at it 18 years later.
Yeah,
and,
completely different thing. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So Jerry Cantrell's latest solo stuff, Franz Ferdinand. I think you said you had 3 for us total. What else do you got? Or was it 2?
I could give you another one. I've also been listening to Bare Naked Ladies' latest album, Detour de Force. They put that out maybe a couple months ago. Yeah.
So
and one song that stuck out to me on there is called Bylaw, where he's the narrator is like going through all the like the first verse. He's like gets pulled over for doing a rolling stop, and the cop is like, well, there's this bylaw that says that by law I have to give you a ticket because you broke this bylaw.
So with Bare Naked Ladies, I have not kept up on them, and just without I don't want to extend this too long, but are they still more or less missing Stephen Page? Is that, or did he come
I
back?
don't think he's going to be coming back.
Okay.
And I'm much in the same way that you are. I kind of stopped listening to them the first time around after Everything to Everyone came out. And then they put out Our Me and Our Men, which were Page's last 2 albums with them.
Mm.
I never really cared for those, so I kind of stopped listening to them because of that. And then Page left, and I had no real reason to go back to them.
But the new one you like.
A couple years ago, my wife and I, she's a really big fan of Hootie and the Blowfish, and they were touring with Bare Naked Ladies.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, I'll get us tickets. We'll go see this band that I know I used to like, and we'll see if I get back. I got back into them.
Right on. Cool.
And I got into more of their newer stuff. So it's like, with the time off, I appreciate them again.
Yeah, and that's cool too, to take a break too and just be like, you know what, I'll circle back. You guys stay here, I'll be back. Yep. All right. Those are the first half segments that we always do on the show. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to get down to business and talk about our main topic, which is going to be very in-depth on Weird Al Yankovic. You are listening to the Infectious Groove Podcast on the Odd Pods Media Network.
Hey, I'm Pants and Saren.
This is Stevie.
And I'm Augie.
And we are BFYTW, a podcast all about playing games and having fun. Our games are usually based on British panel shows and game shows, but we'll play anything that captures our attention and imagination. Why? It's right there in the title.
You'll never guess what the F stands for.
Hey, it's Dalton.
And Sam.
We want to tell you about our podcast called Big 10 Plus 4.
Are you a college football fan who doesn't want to always be talking about the SEC?
Are you a college basketball fan who's tired of hearing how the Big 10 doesn't win in the big dance?
Then we're the show for you. Check us out each week on the Odd Pods Media Network. We bring you college sports with a Big 10 flavor.
Big 10 Plus 4. College sports with Midwest perspective. Blue collar and blue blood.
We are back. It's Russ and Kyle from the Infectious Groove Podcast. And along with us for the ride this week is John from the Beard Al Podcast. And John is joining us very much on the nose for this topic. We are going to discuss Weird Al Yankovic. Now, in the past on this program, we have discussed Weird Al very offhand, like he's been part of our Jammy Jams, or I don't even remember why it came up. Hopefully, Kyle, maybe you'll remember. There was a time, a year and a half or 2 years ago on the show where you had come to the show talking about, you had come to kind of like a new appreciation for Weird Al. Like, I don't know if I had played something for you or Michelle had or what, but there was a point where you were like, oh, I get this dude more than I had before. I don't remember when. I know. Do you remember that happening? I remember it happening.
Yeah. It was. I want to say it's because we came over to. I don't know. We were at your house or something, and you had played some of his stuff that wasn't all the stuff that everyone knows.
Yeah.
That he's
that wasn't
famous
Amish
for.
Paradise and
damn,
White
yeah, pretty much everything that I know of him, I've learned from you beyond, because growing up, he was just the parody guy. That's what he was to me. I had no clue.
Right. Yep. And that's what
he is to a lot of people.
Yeah. And that's what we're going to dig into a little bit more here. So, and actually, Kyle, I'll just put this right back to you. So I feel like Weird Al is one of those people that just everyone knows of. Like everyone knows of Weird Al. I don't care, white man, child, black, doesn't matter who it is. People know of Weird Al, but people that dig into Weird Al all do it at a different time in their life. Like, like a lot of people, one thing will come out that'll really hit them, and they'll buy a full Weird Al album for the first time, whether it's in their teens or their 20s or whatever. And that's the thing that makes them be like, oh, holy crap, there's a lot more to this dude. So Kyle, we were just talking basically within the last year or so is when you like had a chance to dig further into Weird Al.
Yes.
Go
So
ahead.
I mean, I grew up listening to him, but it was all the same stuff that you like, Amish Paradise and White and Nerdy and all the songs that everyone knows that that had the huge music videos attached to them and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I met you that I was like, "There's more to this guy." Like I had no clue, and you kind of like put me further onto him, and then I was like, "Damn!" Like he has to be one one of, if not the most famous, underappreciated artist that there is.
Yep.
Because like you were saying, everyone knows who he is, but everyone's gonna rattle off the same 5 songs that they know of that he's made, and he has like how many albums? Tons.
14? Yeah, 14 studio records. Yeah. And this is a cat where in the 3 major decades that just passed, the 80s, 90s, and the 2000s, everyone else, whenever they have huge hits or whatever, there's this massive delay when in between records, right? I mean, it's a running joke on the show, but the GNR fan over here had to wait from 1991 to 2008 for their next record, and there's so much that goes on with all these artists where you never hear anything else. And Weird Al, like clockwork, every 2 or 3 records, or every 2 or 3 years has a full new record of great material out. Like, he doesn't really have a bad record that fans all go, oh, well, yeah, except for that one. You know what I mean?
Where all fans like unanimously go, yeah, maybe, okay.
I feel like Polka Party and Alapalooza, Polka Party and Alapalooza, I feel like are 2 that people aren't all for.
Don't crap on Alapalooza.
No, I love Alapalooza, but that's my point, though.
I mean, like,
but that's my point, though. Is you and I would say Alapalooza is great, but it has a lot of detractors too. But there's not one that's like Kyle. Take and insert an artist here. Like Metallica, universally people are like, no, Saint Anger, don't ever play Saint Anger. You know what I mean?
Saint Anger,
like Weird Al
maybe Death Magnetic.
Yeah.
I also dislike that.
Yeah. See, I'm not a fan either, but a friend of mine will defend it to the end. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. But like Weird Al doesn't have that record though. There's not one universally panned record by Weird Al. Like every one of them. And I think
you got the closest with it with Polka Party.
Yeah.
And that was because that album was super, super rushed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was really rushed into it. So it's like, there's a reason that maybe the quality on that record isn't up to what people were expecting of him.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially
that's not to say that there aren't bangers on that album. Dog Eat Dog is one of the top.
Right.
But the polka is kind of phoned in.
Right. So, John, we'll go to
Toothless
you
people.
next. Yeah. We'll go to you next before I get into my history with Weird Al. So where is it along the line did you stop and go, oh boy, this is my guy?
Okay, so he came out with Bad Hair Day in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really the first album of his that I can remember like listening to on repeat.
Right.
Like it came out, it was around maybe a couple years later that, I didn't necessarily understand what he was doing because I was 8.
Right.
Like I'm listening to the Weird Al songs and then like I'll be riding in the car and I'll hear one of the songs from the polka and I'm like, why do I know this song?
Right.
Okay, so it didn't really hit me until maybe the Running with Scissors album that like, okay, this is what he's doing. This is like pretty genius stuff. And so I would say it was probably 1999 that I would like dig in.
When you were like, oh wow, like,
this is my guy because the alternative polka on Bad Hair Day and is it called Polka Power that's on
on Scissors.
On Running with Scissors?
Yep.
Yeah, those 2 polkas really kind of shaped a lot of my music taste. I really
totally
liked 90s alternative. So like I think those 2 albums are really what made me the musical person that I came to be.
Yeah, I hear that. And what's funny is just because I'm older, the same thing happened to me, but with In 3D and Dare to Be Stupid. Growing up an enormous Michael Jackson fan, Eat It, of course, grabbed my ear. And I bought In 3D, and I didn't dislike In 3D at all on account of the fact that, I'm human, so I loved it, but I didn't totally get what he was doing. And then Dare to Be Stupid came out, and I was like, oh, I totally get this now, and then you go from there. So.
Literally, you listen to Dare to Be Stupid, and you're like, this is Devo, right?
Right, yeah.
This isn't Weird. This is a Devo song. Like,
Right.
This is Devo.
Yep. So the next question that we have to discuss, for me, this is an absolute no, is the answer to this, but I will give some more detail a little bit later in the discussion. Do you think he gets the respect that he deserves as a songwriter and or an artist? And you know what? I'll just go ahead and go first on this, and then I'll go to you, Kyle, afterwards. I don't think Weird Al gets anywhere near the respect that he deserves, either as a songwriter or an artist. And in my opinion, they're two different things, being a songwriter and an artist. And I feel like most people boil what Weird Al does as songwriting down to, oh, well, he just copies other people. You know, oh, well, Coolio already wrote Gangsta's Paradise, and Weird Al's just kind of, he's just making it funny, which is not at all what he's doing. He's not just making it funny. And then as far as artistry goes, you take somebody like Prince. Prince gets praised universally for his style and performance and how much he put into every single performance and aspect of his persona and everything. I would argue
one of the best Super Bowl halftime shows.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the best.
For sure. But I would argue that Weird Al puts in as much or more into his image and performances than Prince or any other performer does. So I'll send it over to you, Kyle. How do you feel? Do you feel that he, gets recognized to the level that he should for being a songwriter or an artist, or no, and or why?
No, he is criminally underrated as far as that goes, and it's because he unintentionally did it to himself, right? Like he puts out these huge like parody songs, and that's literally all he becomes known for,
right?
In the masses. So like, and also that was like the heyday of MTV. So he also had accompanying music video to the whatever single that he released, mocking whatever song. So that really showed another creative aspect of what he had to offer, but also it was just tied into the parody thing,
right?
So no one ever looked any deeper to see like, does this guy write any other songs that aren't making fun of other songs that people have already written,
right?
And it's just now with like TikTok and that kind of like the shit that happens now on social media where it's cool again to parody songs.
Right.
So you find people that are getting famous again off of doing the same thing that he was initially like famous to the masses for. So maybe we'll see like some sort of like resurgence where people are like, oh, hell yeah, Weird Al's the shit again.
Yeah, I would be all for that. I feel like, it's funny. Weird Al talked about himself on his Behind the Music, and it's been a while since I've seen it. So this may not be a direct quote, but Weird Al talked about how even with his own record label, like you said, Kyle, like he's known for the parodies, right? So he feels like every time he turns in a record, his record label is like, didn't we already do you? Like you're Eat It, right? Like, aren't you're the Eat It guy, and he's like, yeah, and I still have a contract, but I would argue that one of the reasons Weird Al doesn't get the respect that he deserves as far as what he does too is I don't think people like smart comedy as much as they say that they do. I feel like, let me put it this way, to put it in a crude way, I feel like fart jokes get bigger laughs than jokes that require you to think. Okay. And Weird Al doesn't do.
You're 100% correct. Yeah, I agree.
Right. And Weird Al doesn't do fart jokes. He does. I'm sure there's one or two amongst the 14 records, but I'm saying by and large, the guy doesn't do lowbrow humor. He's got jokes in songs that I've got 10 years after I heard the song for the first time.
It's a running thing on our podcast about one of the jokes that my sister missed for years and years and years and years in I Want a New Duck, where he said, show me how to get down, get it? And she just thought, he's like, oh, show me how to dance. But then years later, she's like, oh my God, get down, like down feathers from a duck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I absolutely 100% agree with you that, he does not get near the respect that he deserves. And to that point, neither does his band. Okay. So his band are great musicians in their own right. Jim Kimo West finally got his Grammy for his solo work. Steve J, if you really pay attention to him and the bass lines in any of those songs, they are more complex than they really necessarily need to be for what's going on. And he's just like going, and for them to, especially in their early touring days, to be able to not only play, I'll call them covers of these artists that wrote these songs, and he's just like putting different, they replicate these songs like to the note, to the beat, like
for
it sounds
genres.
exactly like the song.
Yeah.
So across so many genres, country, pop, all of it.
Yeah.
They do it effortlessly.
Yeah, and effortlessly and dead on.
Yeah, dead on. And for them to be able to have done that, and for the time that they've done it, like they had to span 80s music, 90s music, thousands music, and into the early 2010s.
Right.
Think about just the music evolution that happened from just the 80s to the 90s.
Right.
Completely different.
Well, if you just
to
have
done that,
Bad Hair Day, if you just take Bad Hair Day, you have the big single everybody knows is Amish Paradise, right? But on the same record is a parody of Waterfalls. There's a parody of U2's hit at the time. There's a parody of Lump by the Presidents of the USA. Yep. And then you have the Christmas song is on one of the Christmas songs, The Night Santa Went Crazy is on there. So just that record alone, you have, and these guys are not, if anybody listening to this is going, oh my God, they're way overstating this, there's no way these guys are that talented. Go to YouTube and type in Weird Al live and then sit there and be in awe at his band. And Kyle, one thing I want to mention to you too, is you remember when we went and saw Garth Brooks, and I promise this is going to correlate, but do you remember when you and I went and saw Garth Brooks and Garth introduced his band and he was like, hey, this is the newest member of the group. And the guy had been there for like 15 years. Or something along those lines. Weird Al's the same way. The guys that are playing on every Weird Al record that are on every tour with him are the same guys that have been with him since Another One Rides the Bus. Like same cats.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
That's crazy.
You know, and
they added Ruben years later, but like they never changed.
Right. They added one. They never.
They've only added. Yeah. They've never changed. So
yeah, and then so that's to John's point that you're dealing with world-class musicians, but under the moniker of Weird Al Yankovic. These world-class musicians are along for the ride with this guy.
Right. And so I think it really speaks to the point of this question and how we all agree that, no, he doesn't get the respect, is when Kyle was saying about when he dug in. Now, you're not a young guy. For you to have only just dug into him just a couple years ago after only thinking, oh, he's the parody guy. That's like no respect right there. It shows. You know?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But like Kyle said too, though, and Kyle, tell me if I'm wrong, that's how it was presented to you, was this is the parody guy, right?
Yeah, and I thought that what I heard was genius. Like,
absolutely.
Right.
No one had ever done a parody song like that. And then the music videos that he did with them were also just as genius. And I'm like, this is fantastic. But I never ever, that's all that I ever heard or seen was what was presented to me by, the record labels or whatever they wanted to show. Yeah, the media.
Now, real quick, and I didn't even have this on the topic thing, but I do want to touch on it real quick, Kyle, because you are into visual medium. You have to understand, Kyle, that it is one thing to say, oh, I'm going to make a funny version of the Smells Like Teen Spirit video, or Fat, or insert video here, right? But you understand as a visual artist, what Weird Al does is far harder than most people think it is, as far as the music video goes, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not just, like if somebody tried to make Smells Like Teen Spirit funny, they're probably not going to make Smells Like Teen Spirit funny.
Look at a side by side. Watch a side by side of Eat It and Beat It.
Right.
Music videos.
It's brilliant.
Insane. It's insane.
Not only does he like recreate what the actual music videos, but like the amount of work that goes into creating a parody that stays on subject, that is just, it's brilliantly written.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. It's catchy. Just everything. And then you go beyond that. You've already done that. And then you go and you do the music video thing and you're like, hey, I really want this to look like the real thing, but I want it to be hilarious like the song is.
Right.
So like that, it's a whole he's basically doing what Michael Jackson did or what
Prince
or anyone did over again.
And
redoing
it wasn't always that artists would loan him whole sets like Michael did for Bad, but he was,
right.
you know. So the next thing I want to talk about on this is, and Kyle, you actually kind of led us down this path earlier because you were, and you're very accurate with even Instagram stories or mostly TikTok. We are seeing more and more parodies being accepted for entertainment where people are like, oh yeah, it's hilarious. It's take off on that song. So having said that, do you think we'll ever see another artist like him? And my answer to this, I'll just tell you right off the bat, is absolutely not. And the reason why is because, and I'm not sitting here being like, oh, you kids on TikTok, that's not real parody. Back in my day, we had real parody. I don't mean it that way. But when I say an artist like him, what I mean is there is a difference between writing 4 lines of Hold My Hand to be about how your cat pooped in the wrong place in the house and putting it on TikTok, and having your band learn exactly the song, produce it exactly the same, and then do what you said, Kyle, take it to the visual medium. So if the question is, are we ever going to have an artist like this ever again? I think the answer for me is absolutely not. And I guess more or less I'm presenting it to you guys as I will accept opposing arguments now.
Don't have an opposing argument because I'm like 100% with you. And 100% it's because of the way social media is today. So you might get that one song, that one-off, like one that's like absolutely perfect and whatever. You're not going to have that one artist that keeps doing it and doing it and doing it.
Right.
Because if you look at it, Weird Al hasn't put out an album since 2014. And the reason is that it's just like there's so much new stuff. The music industry doesn't stay on any one thing like it did anymore.
Yeah, long enough to,
it's just moving on. So like if he were to write a full album's worth of parodies and pastiches and comedy tracks for a whole album, by the time that album comes out, it's old news. So you're not really going to get anybody to put out a whole album like that, let alone do it for nigh on 40 years.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Kyle, do you have an opposing argument?
No, I have an agreeing argument.
Yeah.
When he was at the the height of his, I guess the height of his public career, like when MTV was like, the place to be. Everyone saw his music videos. Those videos were an integral part of why he became so huge.
Right.
So now people don't really give a shit about music videos as much as they did back in the day.
Right.
And so that type of thing is not, that genre is not sustainable. It's just, he is so good at it that he was able to sustain it and roll with it. And then like I said, he has the music videos to back him up. And it was just very much the perfect time to be an artist like that.
Right.
And like a recent example is, so we all remember when Tiger King came out, and they did that Carole Baskin song that was a parody of Savage by Megan Thee Stallion. So that Carole Baskin song very well became more famous than the actual song that it was parodying.
Right.
But have you heard anything else from that guy?
No.
Absolutely
not.
Yeah.
Right. So he had that was like his moment to shine. Tiger King had just come out. That song, whatever he wanted to do, matched up perfectly. He had that idea. He unleashed the beast, and then now he's disappeared into thin air.
Right.
It's just not sustainable.
Yeah, certainly not here now today. And what's interesting about that is Weird Al himself is a whole industry on his own now, without even, he hasn't put out a record since Mandatory Fun, which, by the way, was his first and only #1 record to debut at #1, which I think is amazing. Like
debut at #1, yes.
to cross the finish line with having your last studio record debut at #1. Hell yeah. But the cat ever since then has been touring on, hits packages, and he did a orchestra-backed tour. He did the Ill-Advised Vanity Tour. He's now on the return of the Ill-Advised Vanity Tour.
The unfortunate return,
yeah. Which is all of the songs that people like me love that no one else has heard, that most people haven't even heard from the guy.
I'm sure Lauren has talked to you about some of the songs that we saw him do when we saw him in May on this tour.
I don't know who Lauren is, but
yeah, that's right. You forget you don't know who Lauren is. Well, we've talked about it. I think in our recap episode, he played Velvet Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought in a million years that I would see that song.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He played Midnight Star.
Right.
I never in a million years thought I would see that song live.
Right.
And both of those songs came out. All right, so I guess this isn't completely factual because Even Worse came out the year I was born. But for sake of argument, both of those songs came out before I was alive.
Right.
So it's like, for me to have really enjoyed those songs, that I had no reason to really understand or appreciate what he's going after there.
Right.
Velvet Elvis is a perfect Police pastiche.
Oh yeah,
perfect.
Absolutely.
I
would just like to stop off and mention that some people went to the record store to buy Even Worse the day it came out because they were old enough to have bought it. But whatever, if you weren't born, that's whatever.
Look at you.
Yeah. If you weren't born yet, it's neither here nor there.
It was released. Well, I'll make you feel a little bit better. It was technically released after I was born because I was born in January of that year.
There we go.
And it came out, so I was alive, but was I really alive?
We were right, yeah. Yeah. If you haven't heard Weird Al yet, were you really living?
Exactly.
So, Kyle, do you have another point on the whole, if we'll ever have another artist like him? Or I feel like you got more.
He is the perfect example of a core fan base supporting your art.
Yep.
Because the record labels don't give a shit about him, essentially. They just, they want to have more white nerdies and more, whatever popular song is out, they want him to just parody that and then call it a day.
Yeah.
And then most of the population that listens to music only knows those songs that I was referring to before.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, but he has this core fan base that both of you guys, obviously, and that is literally what has sustained his entire career, is having that, which is, I think, is incredible, which also doesn't exist nowadays.
Right. And then see, it's the whole snake eating its own tail, as far as hey, we need people to support artists. Well, we need real artists. Well, we need people to support them. Yeah, I concur.
Right.
Gentlemen, we've spent the last half hour talking about how amazing Weird Al is and how deeply we all appreciate him and the different times in our lives that he came into our lives and made a difference for us, and the smart comedy and how you can very seriously compare him to the likes of Michael Jackson and Prince. So that comes back to the final question for this discussion, which is, and I'm actually changing the wording on this a little bit. Do you think he'll ever get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or perform at the Super Bowl? And here's the difference, and why not? Is what I'm adding to that. Because me personally, I don't think he'll get either, but which is ridiculous and a sham, but let's get into it. John, we'll open it up with you. We'll take it in two parts, I guess. Do you think he'll ever end up in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Do I think he will ever? Maybe not in his lifetime, which is a shame. Okay. Yeah. And will he ever play the Super Bowl halftime? As much as somebody like you or I would love that and absolutely appreciate that, he's kind of gone on record saying that he would never do it.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a big fat no there.
That doesn't change the fact that I want him to do it, though.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But I think the reason, barring the fact that he already said that he won't, the reason that it wouldn't happen is because I don't think that he is relatable or well-known enough. Going back to our respect thing from before, he's just not well-known enough to have, the masses really understand what's going on in this show. He would almost need to have the artists that he was parodying or pastiching come to
that's how I've always thought.
The songs
that's how I've always thought it should be done. So you have Chameleonaire do Ridin' Dirty a verse and a half, then you have Weird Al do White and Nerdy a verse and a half, have Dave and Chris sit in for a verse and a half of Smells Like Nirvana.
Right.
Coolio's off the table because he's a jerk, but you know what I'm saying.
Right.
That type of situation.
No, exactly. I got you. And you can't have Michael Jackson do it anymore.
Yeah. Well, he invented it and then pieced out. So, and then Prince perfected it. So we're all good.
Exactly.
Kyle, Rock Hall, Super Bowl. And why not? Because I'm assuming you're going to say the same thing we are.
I completely agree. For one, I think both of those things are bullshit nowadays.
Right.
So I could give two shits about a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yep.
And I also, the halftime shows are trash now.
Yeah.
So, do I think that he'll ever get into either? Maybe years and years and years down the line in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Halftime show, absolutely not. Even the idea that you guys both just talked about, I didn't even think of that, but that sounds fantastic to me, and I would love to see that. And I think that if that did happen, there'd be a whole lot of people watching, and be like, "Holy shit, that's that guy!
Yeah,
like,
that's the dude.
That's the dude! Yeah, right there! Holy shit!
That's what he does.
Yeah,
yeah.
But commercially and financially, it just doesn't make sense because they want Beyonce, who sells 20 million records a year, to be on stage to draw attention to the whole thing.
See, and here's my thing, Kyle, and I know you and I labor this point more than anybody on the show repeatedly about how record companies miss the mark, right? Think about what happened with Dreams by Fleetwood Mac because of TikTok like 2 years ago, right? The guy skateboarding with the juice or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Number one song, right? Let's talk about Kate Bush on Stranger Things. Journey last week because of the Stranger Things season finale. Separate Ways is higher on the charts than it's ever been before, right? So, and I'm yelling at you, Kyle, but I'm not yelling at you, So you bring Weird Al out, like I said, with, Dave and Chris, I guarantee you Teen Spirit goes back to the top of the charts. Chameleonaire, same thing. And you get both out of it, right? You get the Weird Al hit and, but they're not going to see that. And further to your point about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Kyle, when I put this question in here, I was almost like, well, Kyle's going to tell us how much he thinks the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is bullshit first, though. which I agree. I don't think
it's a popularity contest.
No, anymore, and not only that. Furthermore, it's a cool kids contest. It's whoever is deemed to be cool. And if I subscribe to the which Adam Sandler movie is it with the if Pee in Your Pants is cool, then I'm Miles Davis. If being Weird Al is uncool, then consider me the uncoolest cat in the room. You know what I mean? I will gladly sit out and throw rocks at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame if you're not going to let Weird Al in because he's not cool. Kyle, I'm sorry. Right. I cut Kyle off. What were you going to say, Kyle?
Yeah.
Record labels and corporations and all that shit that is involved in the Super Bowl are just out of touch with how they only see dollar signs and they know they're going to get a guaranteed dollar sign if they put whatever Beyonce or whoever on stage.
Yeah. Something that already is.
The idea that you guys came up with is fucking fantastic. And I would kill to see that. That'd be amazing.
Right.
But there's and so many other people would enjoy it. But their main fear would be everyone's going to click off and not watch it. And then boom, it's going to fail.
Which is insane. But like you said, Kyle, to your point, they would rather bank on what already is than what could be. Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Look
John,
at
what were you going to say?
This past year's Super Bowl halftime show. I mean, it was Snoop and Dre, and that worked because the hits that those artists had back when they were in their heyday were so big that even young people today know those songs. Right. So they play those songs and it's like, okay, yeah, I know this one. And then you had the surprise appearance by 50 Cent, which was fun. Right. But you think about that same thing if Weird Al were to do it, people don't know Weird Al like they know Snoop.
But I would argue if you did the biggins, if you did
then, of course.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not asking for Weird Al to come out and do Buy Me a Condo at the halftime show. I'm talking about
okay. It's okay. Yeah. The cultural appropriation moment of the show.
Yeah. No kidding. Have him come out and do Albuquerque twice.
To the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that's kind of become almost not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but just a music Hall of Fame.
Right. Mm-hmm.
If you know what I mean. And that's not to make me sound like old man yells at cloud.
Right.
You called it the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Right. Are you really considering somebody like the Beastie Boys rock and roll?
Well, I'll tell you what, what's funny is the genres that people complain most about getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There's one guy who's covered all those genres across his career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what? And it's Weird Al. But he can't be let in the door. So,
Because most of what he's done is pop. And so if it's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame like I'm trying to stick to, he won't get in. Yeah. And it's a shame.
It is a shame. It's a shame. It's a sham. Any other words that are derogatory that start with SH, insert here. John, thank you so much for being our inaugural guest on the show. This has been a
wow,
fantastic
thanks for
discussion.
having me.
Now, what I do want to say is there was more than a few nerdy moments between John and I where we started talking a little bit inside baseball on Weird Al, but we did try and keep it more surface level, because I don't want anybody to come into this and be like, I don't know what they're talking about. But if you are a Weird Al fan who listens to our show and think, oh my God, I would love to hear more of that, you can hear more of that and way more in depth on literally song by song through Weird Al's entire catalog on the Beard Al podcast. John, if you want to give him one more quick plug on who's on the show, what y'all do, and everything you discuss.
Yeah, it's me and my sister, Lauren. We're brother. Well, obviously, we're brother and sister. We talk about different kinds of beers, we've gone through probably something around 50 or more songs of Weird Al's at this point, somewhere around there.
So you got quite a few more to go.
Yeah, we do. If we call it 50, that means that there's 113 left. So she goes through and talks about specific albums with guests every other week. And so there's songs, there's album discussions. There's even, if you go back to March, there was a bracket we did like a March Madness of polkas.
Oh, right
so
on.
Check that out.
You know, yeah. Kyle, how people are always doing March Madness with polkas.
Yeah.
See, funny that you mentioned the whole polka thing. I think that's some of what confuses people or like turns them off because they're not sure.
Yeah.
It's like there's only a certain group of people that understand and like it, and that's the whole thing. And I think it's just one more the confusing aspects of it.
Yeah, and like I said near the top of this half hour, I was talking about how I got in 3D first, and there's a polka on that record, and that was Kyle. That was part of the thing where I was like, I don't know what's happening here. And then when I got next record, Dare to Be Stupid, I was like, oh, okay, okay. So there's the polka in the middle. All right, But again, back in that era, that was back when you went out and just bought a record by an artist that you like or whatever. So there was time for you and the artist to grow together.
Right.
Here now today, what you're talking about. Yeah. If you put any Weird Al polka on right now and you tell people, hey, that's the white nerdy guy, they're going to be like, no, it is not. So in any case, thank you so much for joining us, John. Kyle, we are great to have you back this week. Next week, I'm going to ask Michelle what we talked about this week, and it's going to be a trick question because she wasn't even here for it. So
you'll see what answer she gives you.
Yeah. Next week on the program, by the way, Seth will be joining us, who if you are a longtime listener of the show, you have heard us read a ton of Seth's feedback. You've heard a lot of voicemails from Seth. He's going to join us on the show, and God be with him. He's going to be on here with Michelle for an album pick of Michelle's for reviewing. So this could go one of several ways for everybody involved. And
I think it might go good because I feel like they listen to very similar genres of music.
So it's going to go well for everyone but me.
Yeah, but you.
Like we always say about this time, without music, life would be a mistake. Bye.
The Infectious Groove podcast is hosted by Russ Robinson, Kyle Wimple, and Michelle Koselecki. Produced and edited by Russ Robinson. Intro and outro music composed by Chris Hummel. Recorded with a Rode Podcaster Pro and Rode Pod mics.